Hey guys, Joe here from XFoxGames. Check it out. This is going to be a just kind of tutorial, quick guide on how to install the XFKO inline kit into your Knockout and how to modify it. We're not going to go over every single step and us grinding and everything, but we'll go over it at a high level. So a lot of you guys who either bought the STLs or bought the actual individual kits kind of get an idea how to do it. It's actually not that tough if you take your time. There are a few key things that you want to focus on. But before we start, a big thank you to everybody who has checked out our shop, purchased the blasters, the kits, the STLs. We love you guys, man. We love you. We got a lot of stuff coming out. Again, you can see we got a lot of different colors here that are coming out. It takes, again, time to print, but a lot of the stuff we have in stock, so we can get it to you really quick. So we've seen some people wait like 2 months to get stuff. No, we try to get it to you ASAP. Anyways, let's get into it. So, first we're going to start off with the kit itself, go over what comes in the kit, or again, the STLs, and then what you guys need to get additional. So if you guys buy the kit, we typically don't send the actual pipes, right? Because the pipes you can get on Amazon. I'll leave them inside. I'll leave them inside the description. You get them in about 3 feet lengths, and you could make like 4 blasters out of like one bigger pipe and then one of the inner pipes. So you could make a lot of blasters, and you could cut it to the length that fits you, right? We tend to like to go with a about an 8-inch. It's about an 8 and a little bit inch main barrel. This way you can get about 4 shots in there. We've heard it where some people want to lighten the load and kind of lighten their blaster, so they'll make it shorter and put a shorter inner piece, which is about 2 inches, 2 1/4, somewhere right in there. They'll go right in there. They'll shorten it to, again, kind of save on weight so they only have 2 shots or 3 shots. We like to go with the 4. That's why I say, hey, we don't send this because I don't know what you guys want. And 8 fits perfectly inside this. Again, with whatever barrel you got, it fits perfectly inside there without sticking out the end. But some people, again, it's completely up to you. So again, I'll put the descriptions for both the tubing down in the description. Again, you guys can go with something different. I like the clear stuff. It's easier to kind of see and kind of work with. But again, about 8 inches right here. You can go an 8 1/4 if you want to, almost 8 1/2 to go all the way to the end of the barrel. We like about 8 inches. Again, about 2 1/2 right here, about 2 1/4. Somewhere right in there. It's completely up to you on how many you want to fit. This, again, would be longer depending on if you only want to fit 2 or 3 in there. We'll go over that here in a little bit, though. Now, for the actual 3D printed parts, you got, again, your muzzle here. There is only going to be one muzzle we have for this currently. It's the longer one. It's pretty much the same thing that comes with the XFKO line, the 50 cal. It's just, again, we got a little more colors here. They're all going to be available. We should have more probably by the time people are watching this. And we're going to come out with more barrels in the future. And that's the whole point behind our design here of the kind of the inner barrel itself, or the inner shaft here, is we wanted to make these universal on the front. So if we come out with like a more blocky front, you could just buy the block fronts and just stick them right on the end and be ready to go. You don't got to buy a whole new kit. And we like that. And we just wanted to kind of lighten this one up to make it really light. And there's really not a lot that people use this thing for when it comes to the kits. But that was the whole point behind this, is you guys can get the different barrels as we kind of develop them, screw them on, and boom. You're pretty much ready to go. You don't have to buy a whole new kit just for this. So if we do make another kit for another particular blaster, you can use a particular, if it's a 50 cal and it goes that far, perfect. You can just swap it in, be good to go, and you're ready to go, right? That's the whole point behind it. So we got the suppressor, we got the inner kit here. And again, a lot of these, the cleaning them up, depending on your 3D printer, is not very difficult. Ours, we always just, clean it up after the fact. There's always a little bit of stuff here and there. And one of the big things is, when you first 3D print this and you're putting them together, sometimes it's a little tight. So if it's a little tight, just go a little bit, back it off. Go a little bit more, back it off, and kind of just keep doing that, and you should be able to get it where it threads on really nice. Then blow out any of the dust and stuff that's in there, and then do it again. And then before you know it, it's really, really easy to put on. So you don't need to torque it too much. The kits that you get from us, we've already done this, so you don't have to torque it, all the way down. It is good to go. The front blocks, pretty straightforward, right? They just go up here. There's not a lot that you got to do with this thing. Just clean it up as normal if you did print them. You got the back plunger here, or the back, I call it the plug, but it's the double O-ring. It's basically going to fit right inside here. And again, we'll go over that. You got the triggers. Check us out. We got a lot of different triggers. We like to send everybody who, usually if you guys buy like the orange kit or the red kit or the orange kit or like the yellow kit or the blue kit, whatever, green kit, we use, we send you a few more triggers. So a lot of you guys who've purchased, we've sent a few extra just so you guys can have them. And you do have the serial number and the if I can go pull one out, the serial number and as well as the logo that you could put over the side of the blaster, like right here. And again, that's really, really straightforward. So let's get into this. So first things first, again, we know the kit, we know the parts. It's the trimming. So the trimming is just like the Brass Breech version, where with these particular handles, you could see here, we follow this particular line down. We follow that particular line up until those two meet. I always say do less at first and then finish it off, right, with a file. We did ours by a Dremel, but there's probably better ways that people can do it. We did ours with a Dremel, and then we just kind of filed it off, test fitted, filed it off, test fitted, because you don't want to take off too much, because then you just take off too much, right? And it's the same thing for this front piece here, where you could see this one just left a little rough, where we just kind of cut as much as we felt comfortable with, and the rest we can just file off until it is even with that bottom plate down here, right? There's nothing sticking out down here. And again, you could just go a little bit by little bit. You can clip this in. It just clips right in there. You could test fit. If it doesn't fit, file off a little bit more. Always do a less than what is actually needed. And then in the front, of course, there's this little piece right here. You always want to, and I'll pull up a picture of it here, you want to cut off kind of like a little L piece right there. You'll see it if you can't, you know, you didn't see the picture that has popped up. You cut out that little L piece. Very, very straightforward. These should probably take you, again, I don't know, 5 minutes, somewhere right in there. A little bit of filing, a little bit of fitting to get them exactly right. So once you have the bodies right, now what I like to do is prepare the actual plunger tube. So with the plunger tube, I end up just ripping out that internal piece that's coming, the people call it the air restrictor, people call it the guide, you know, the part that you push on. You could just take that whole piece right out. Now here's the key, is if you look in there, you could see there's still that inner ring in there, right? You don't have to rip that out. That's where a lot of trouble comes into place. People try to rip that out, they distort this whole thing, and I was like, no. People are gonna destroy their blaster that way. So you could pretty much just rip out that internal piece in there and get as much of it out as you can, right? I always tend to use a little bit of a file, right? And I use clippers just to kind of clip some of the stuff out of there as far as you can. The more stuff you can get out of there, the better. Just do not take out that inner ring. And you guys can see it in there. Look at that. See that inner ring? You keep it in there because this will fit. You just line up the top groove on this, if you guys can kind of see that, top groove, where there's a groove in the top here. Just boom. Just like that. And I tend to put a little bit of Gorilla Glue on there. Again, you guys could probably have a better adhesive. Just Gorilla Glue that back piece and then go ahead and set it in. So I don't put it on, I don't put the Gorilla Glue on here. I'll put the Gorilla Glue in here and then set it in there and then let it sit for like 10 minutes to make sure it is, you know, it is going. And while that's usually going and curing is when I will go and start creating this. Is I'll cut my pieces. Now, again, I cut mine with a saw, and I tend to have some burrs and stuff left on here, so I will use one of these deburring tools. I got this like it's Home Depot for like $5, and you just want to go out, you know, go in the middle, de-chamfer it a little bit, get all the burrs out there. Sometimes you got to go along the outside to get all the stuff off. And on the longer piece is you want to make sure that you kind of chamfer this kind of the inner piece here for this part right here, for the where it goes into the plunger right there, right? And the reason for that is because you want this, you don't want it the edge so abrupt that when it hits the O-ring, it's kind of like pushing it. You want it to kind of glide at an angle, kind of like a ramp, right? So when this fits in, boom, it just goes in. You can see that really nice, just goes in and seals instead of kind of getting caught on it. And I tend to kind of deburr as much as I can with this. And then I'll usually take my file and just do it a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Just smooth out any of the stuff that might have been left on there. Then you could always test it. Okay. And the smoother it feels, perfect. Perfect. And I'll send a few O-rings again when I do the kits. I will also put a link down in the description about the O-rings that you can use back here. There are a ton of different types that you can use, but I'll put the ones that I use down here. Again, they're usually like 100 for like $3, so there's a lot of them. So again, you want to chamfer this so when you're putting darts in here, they're not getting stuck, as well as when they're feeding onto the back plunger right there. They're not, the O-ring is not catching on really anything on this side. Now, you want to do the same thing for only one side of kind of the inner barrel here. So you kind of chamfer it, because this is where, I'll show you, the dart is going to sit. And you want to make sure that the dart can really fit in here without, you know, really fit in here and have a good seal on this. So I'll blow that out. I'll usually take this and just, I don't even push. I just kind of just kind of do this a little bit, right? Just making it smooth so the darts have an easy pass through here and it creates a decent seal. Again, I mean, this is only like 2.5 inches, and they give you like 3 feet of this. So if you mess it up, no big deal. Cut another piece. And if you mess that up, cut another piece. You got a lot of, I mean, a lot of real estate within these. So perfect. So if we take a quick look, and I'm going to hop over here. So if we take a quick look, when these darts are going in there, right, they have a little bit of a seal. So it kind of sits like that, right? Just kind of sits in there. Perfect. Depending on your dart, it may sit a little bit better in there, but at least it's not catching on any of this. It's kind of, you know, going on that chamfered edge and just sliding right in. So it's already sitting into the thing. Now, one of the biggest things is sometimes you get lucky, right? So with this side going to be the side that goes in, and this is the side, the chamfered side is the side that's going to sit in here because that's where the darts go. Sometimes you get lucky where you can get this tube. Oh, see, in my case, this one won't want to fit in here. Sometimes you can't, it just slides right in, kind of tight. Sometimes you got to hit it with a hammer or something to get it in there. But a lot of different ways, and it'll go in. In my case, this smaller tube is just not going to fit in here easily. So you can sand it down. That's why this one looks a little darker, is because I went ahead and sanded it down. You could do it on a sander. You could do it with sanding paper. It doesn't take too much. You could put it on a drill and do it that way. So I went ahead and sanded it down, and it fits in there so much easier. And it's still a really, really tight fit. So when you put the, you know, the things down in there, perfect. You can see, you see how that kind of sits down in there? It's not sitting back. You kind of gotta, you know, blow it back to fit it in there. So that's one of the biggest things is if it doesn't fit, it is okay. It's been 50-50 for me. Some of the tube fits, some of it doesn't fit. Usually I have to sand it somewhat to make it fit a little easier. And I don't put any glue on this or anything like this. I just press fit it in there, and it, trust me, it is not coming out. And again, you can make a lot of these if you guys mess it up. So you got your barrel, you got this put on. So what is the next step? Next step is you want to figure out the alignment. This is probably the biggest step in this whole process, right? So the alignment is key. And what I tend to do is, you can see I only got maybe about 5 millimeters of the barrel sticking out right there is a starting point, right? It's usually somewhere right in there, about 5 millimeters, somewhere right in there. You could always just kind of go back. And what you want to do is, hopefully when this is all cured up, is you want to put this in your blaster, right? And then you also can put in your trigger if you want to. You don't have to, but you can put in your trigger. So let's put in, oh, this is one of my new triggers, so I gotta just break that back part right there. So let's just put in this new trigger. And then you want to find, see if I can find it here really quick, the catch. You want to find the catch. So you can install something just like this. And again, this is how I do it. I know there's other different ways you can do it, but this is again just how I do it. So you have the catch in there. You know where it's going to catch. So what you can do is kind of push this back until this catches, right? So perfect. And then you kind of pull on this a little bit until it catches, and then you want to push it forward so you know it is seated at its farthest back position against the plunger. That is the biggest thing, guys. I cannot stress that enough, is you want to make sure you have a good seal back there. And once that's done, what you can do is you can just take a look and see. So again, it's about, I don't know, about 5 millimeters there. And just kind of, you can mark it, you could do something just to know where that's at. And what you can do from there is when you pull it back out, now you can put a little bit of Gorilla Glue on both sides of this. And then you just kind of bring it back down, working both sides. Get it about, again, where you were at on here, right? Just kind of spot it and do that same process again. Kind of get it, make sure it latches back in the latch back there, back in the lock. And then again, just kind of push this forward to where you know it's seated up against there, and then you just want to let it sit, right? Just let it sit so this cures in place. Now this stuff is pretty quick, it's like a minute. So you know that that seal is really, really good. That is probably the biggest step that I can't stress enough on how much you got to do. So once that's done, perfect. Now, people ask, hey, do you really need this back O-ring? You really don't. It's really just here as a, more like a seal, because it's the first seal is the one that goes inside the barrel, and then the second seal is more for the edge of the barrel when it hits the back, right? It kind of seals it. I didn't notice really too bad of an increase, but I put it there just in case. And again, you could take it off if need be. Now, you also do not need this anymore. This O-ring on the top, this main seal, because you're not sealing it like that anymore. Same thing with a 50 cal. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you just put everything back together as normal, and boom, you're almost ready to go. Two kind of tricks here that I want to go over. Sometimes you do not need to cut the spring, right? Sometimes you have enough oomph to pull it back. Sometimes you don't. So what I tend to do is count about, I don't know, about 8, 9 springs down, and then cut it, and then use the next 3 to make a new loop. Just bend it backwards. Now, they do have the dark and the silver springs. Again, the silver springs probably only need about 8 or so. On the black, or the darker spring here, you probably need about 10. They are different, like, tensile strengths, I believe. It's what it feels like. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, another tip that we've seen, especially with a lot of these KOs, is after about, I feel like 200 shots, 150 shots, sometimes when you pull it, it doesn't catch. And you're like, what the heck is going on? And it's just this piece right here. This piece is probably the Achilles heel to the Knockout. And you're like, what is that? It's the catch itself. So this will usually sit like this, right? So as you pull it down, this little heel piece will catch on the plunger and lock it into place. But sometimes you pull it and it doesn't happen. You're like, what the heck is going on? You'll notice your blaster or your plunger in this piece is starting to go out after, 150 shots, 200 shots. So what you can do, or what we do, is we will mark it where this initial piece is. Like, we can just look at this like right here, right? We're like, okay, boom, it's right there. Then what we can do is you could take, like, we got like a waffle head top here. You can put anything. You guys can kind of see that. Really thin. And you'll actually super glue it right there. Boom. Not all the way square. You want to do it to where it's kind of off center. You see that? So now this will fit on here, and it's not as much pressure on this kind of plastic piece, and this doesn't wear that quick. It has a little more oomph in it, so you should go a lot more. I was able to get like 300 shots. My arm started getting tired, and we didn't even make it fail yet. It was only after about 200 shots we're like, man, this is the Achilles heel to the Knockout. Maybe we'll make a new one of these. I don't know, but the stock one, yeah. So on a lot of our blasters, we've been putting this little thing here so you can get a lot more shots out of the stock version. But that's really it, guys. I mean, there's not a lot to installing this. It's really more just cutting the things to length to how you like it, cutting the actual pieces out, and yeah, I mean, heck, you don't even really have to cut out, I mean, if you don't want to, you really don't even got to cut out any of this stuff if you don't want to put the front piece on there. I mean, this will go perfectly fine. You don't have, I mean, you don't have to do it. You can just keep everything stock if you want to. But if you're not shooting balls, you might as well just cut that off. And here's the thing, is there are a lot of different front brackets that we've seen for this. So if you don't like this particular style, perfect. You can just go grab another front bracket, cut it to fit its needs, but at least you'll have a, an inline kit ready to go for your particular blaster. And again, we're putting a lot of different colors. I wanted to give a big thanks again to everybody out there who, has purchased these already. We love you guys, man. I love building this stuff for you guys, and I just can't wait to see some of the inventions and creations that people do with kind of what we've done with our blasters. Anyways, this is a quick guide. Well, not really that quick, but hopefully it's helped some of you guys. Thanks again, Fox fans.